Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a lap guide for the new lap time challenge taking place at Sardegna A with the 2016 Renault Sport Clio RS. To access this lap time challenge, go on over to sport mode, so make sure you have menu book number 9 completed so you can be able to access the online time trials. Click on the online time trials towards the middle of the screen, and once again, click towards the middle of the screen. So this lap time challenge goes on until the end of September 17, 2025, where we're in a Renault Clio RS, except it cannot be tuned. We're on the sports hard tires, and your goal is to go within the 3% time range of the world record time when the event ends, as that is when your lap time gets counted, and hopefully you'll be able to get the 2 million credits. But let's go ahead and jump straight away into the lap guide, where before you're starting your lap, so this is when you start a brand new session, you want to brake before the 50-meter board. That way you can actually make it to the apex. So you brake hard for a short while, ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, and you want to try to get your apex as close as you can to where the stop sign is, and you can use that stop sign as your cue to start to get back on the throttle. You want to also make sure that you try to straighten up the car as quickly as possible, because this car is a front-wheel drive. So when you get on the throttle and you're still turning, you can potentially introduce understeer where the car doesn't want to turn as much, and you end up going off of the track. So as you saw just now, the kink is flat out shift when the shift bar on the bottom of the screen fills up, as you do hit the rev limiter shortly after the shift bar fills up. Bring this up towards the right side of the track. You want to brake before the 100-meter board, before the red wall on the right ends. Brake in a straight line and use all of your braking power, and you'll see me start to brake right now. There we go, full braking power. Go down to third gear, turn in when the curb on the right ends, and you want to be aggressive yet precise with this turn, because there is quite a bit of time to be gained if you get this first turn nailed down. So ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking. And once you give this apex a kiss on the forehead, that is where you can start to fully accelerate your way out. Be careful about touching the gravel on the right, as that will result in time lost. Now this little chicane right here, pretty easy flat out. Bring yourself towards the right side of the track. You will need to grab 5th gear for a short moment, and you want to brake just before the 50-meter board. You'll be using all of your braking power and brake in a straight line. Now the turning point is a little tricky, but you can use the blue flag on the right or the end of the grandstand on the right as your turning point. So you can see right here, I'm already starting to turn in, and you want to stick towards the left side of the track because there's an immediate right turn coming up. So go down to third gear, let the car rotate around this corner, stick to the left, brake, and start to turn in just before you reach this fence that is on the left. So stay on third gear, use around 75% braking power for a short moment, and start to turn on in. And there is a quick moment here where I do let the car roll or coast for just a moment, so no braking, no throttle input to let the car turn in just a little bit more. And as soon as you hit the apex, you want to quickly get back on the throttle without touching the grass, as that will cost you time. Now bring yourself towards the right. This one's pretty difficult. You're going to brake shortly after the 50-meter board. So in a moment, you'll see exactly where I start to brake, and unfortunately, there's no real good braking marker over here. So again, this is shortly after you go under the 50-meter board. So full braking power for just a moment, and you can see that this is where I start to turn in. Again, unfortunately, no real good turning point over here. And what makes it worse is that this is a blind corner. So you want to bring yourself towards the left, carefully get back on the throttle. So by the time that your car is pulling away from the track marshals on the other side of the track, that is where you want to start to get back on the throttle, or at least be back at full throttle. And as you saw, I got really close to the wall, so you do want to be a bit precise with your timing on the throttle. Now go up to 5th gear. You're going to eventually make your way towards the right side of the track, and you're going to brake a bit early where I start to brake. So I'm braking right here. This is around the 115-meter mark. Brake just a tad bit early where I start to brake, because I actually end up overshooting the hairpin by a bit. So full braking power, make your way down to third gear, use the end of the curb on the right as your reference point to turn on in. And as you're about to see in just a moment, I do end up overshooting this turn by a bit. Not too much, but just by a bit, but still noticeable enough to where I lost a bit of time. Now you can use this stop sign as your apex or as your cue to get back on the throttle. And you're going to go ahead and commit a traffic violation by just flooring it past the stop sign. Now this kink can be taken flat out, so go ahead and do that. Same with this right kink coming up. You want to turn in once you're about to pass this sign that is on the left. A little bit hard to spot. Bring yourself towards the right and brake when the curb on the right ends. You'll be using the start of the barrier on the right as your cue to turn on in. So very quick stab on the brakes. You'll see right there, stab on the brakes down to 4th gear. You want to start to ease on the throttle to try to maintain your momentum. Really difficult to nail down that little chicane right there. And finally, brake before the 100 meter board. Here I brake just a tad bit too late again, so you want to brake just a hair bit earlier than where I start to brake. Full braking power, go down to 3rd gear, and you want to turn in before the curb on the right ends. So you can see right here, I'm starting to turn on in and ease off of the brake, so doing a bit of trail braking. And just like in the previous hairpin, use the stop sign as your reference point to start to get back on the throttle and commit another traffic violation. And again, be careful about turning in while you're getting back on the throttle, as that can introduce some understeer to this four-wheel drive car and potentially end up with you going off of the track. And finally, use the end of the wall on the left as a cue to turn on in, flat out, go up to 5th gear and go ahead and finish your lap. So we'll go ahead and go through this lap again in just a moment, but this time I will not stop the video. So here we go, in just a moment. There we go. So starting the lap right away, already up into 5th gear, make your way towards the right side of the track and go ahead and brake before the 100 meter board. Down to 3rd gear, ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking. Get back on the throttle as soon as you hit the apex. And this little chicane right here is a pretty easy flat out section. Bring yourself towards the right side of the track. You're going to brake before the 50 meter board, just before the 50 meter board. Down into 3rd gear, stick to the left because you're going to make a right turn almost immediately after. Quick stab on the brakes. Stay on 3rd gear. Get the car pointing towards the next section of the track. Avoid touching the grass as that will slow you down a bit. Then bring yourself towards the right. Brake just after the 50 meter board. And here I do stay on 4th gear, so I don't have to deal with changing gears mid-corner and after the corner. And you want to be really careful getting back on the throttle, as it's really easy to end up hitting the wall. And you will need to grab 5th gear in just a moment. There we go. Up into 5th gear. Bring yourself towards the right side of the track and you're going to brake closer to around the 125 meter mark. This one I ended up overshooting it by a bit. Down into 3rd gear, use a stop sign as a cue to get back on the throttle and go ahead and take this kink flat out. The next right kinks will be flat out. So this one right here is flat out. This one right here is also flat out, but stay towards the right. Use the end of the curb on the right as a cue to start to get on the brakes. Go down to 4th gear, carefully ease on the throttle. Stay on the right and you're going to brake before the 100 meter board. Here I do brake just a tad bit too late. So you want to brake just a hair bit earlier than where I start to brake. Use a stop sign as your cue to get back on the throttle. And the rest of this lap can be taken flat out. So this kink right here, when the wall on the left ends, go ahead and turn on in, and again flat out, go ahead and grab 5th gear and finish your lap. So we'll go through this one more time, but this time we will do it in bumper cam. So here we go, getting ready to start the bumper cam perspective as we start the new lap. Already in 5th gear, bring yourself towards the right side of the track. Gonna brake before the 100 meter board. Down into 3rd gear. Go ahead and get back on the throttle as soon as you hit the apex. So you're being a bit aggressive through that first turn, as if you get it down just right, you will gain quite a bit of time. Bring yourself towards the right side of the track. Brake just before the 50 meter board. Gonna make your way down to 3rd gear. Stay towards the left side of the track as there's a right turn coming up immediately after. Stay on 3rd gear. Nice and easy getting back on the throttle. Be careful about understeering onto the grass because that will cost you a bit of time, so You want to time your throttle inputs just right. Brake just after the 50 meter board. Here I stay on 4th gear so I don't have to deal with a whole bunch of more gear shifting, and just being really precise with getting back on the throttle at the right time so you can gain a bit of speed and gain a bit of time. But you also want to be careful, don't accelerate too early, otherwise you do risk hitting the wall and getting your lap timing invalidated. Now go ahead and bring this up towards the right side of the track. Gonna brake at around the 125 meter mark. Here I do brake just a tad bit too late. Gonna use the stop sign on the left as my cue to get back on the throttle. This right king can be taken flat out. Same with the next 2 right kings, they can also be taken flat out. But for this one coming up right here, you're gonna stay towards the right, brake when the curb on the right ends, quick dab on the brakes, go down to 4th gear and carefully get back on the throttle. Finally brake before the 100 meter board. Here once again I brake just a hair bit too late and go a little wide. Use the stop sign on the left as a cue to get back on the throttle. And finally this last turn right here, when the wall on the left ends, go ahead and take a flat out. No fuss over here. Go up to 5th gear and finish your lap. So with this I was able to get, I think it's 204.7 if I remember correctly. Yeah, 204.776. And that is it for this lap guide. So if you like this lap guide, if it helped you out or entertained you in any way, shape, or form, please do hit the like and subscribe because it'll tell me that you guys like this stuff. And that is it for me. So take care everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.